Hi Year 10, here is your next video helping you to revise for your mock exams. Okay, so for this homework you are focusing on question 4. Now I haven't written this on, but we will refer to this as the comparison question. Okay, now essentially what you have to do on this question isn't actually that difficult, and I think it plays to your strengths. It's pulling lots of different skills together. And the only tricky bit is this comparison, where you've got to kind of read quite a lot of information and really make reference to the two texts together. So it's asking you to read the whole of source A and the whole of source B. And that will always be the same. The key word here is compare. So straight away we know that we've got to pull out the similarities and the differences in these two texts. Compare how the writers convey their different perspectives on. Now the question will always say that. Compare how the writers convey their different perspectives on, and then it will link to whatever the theme of the texts are. So for these texts, it's extreme weather conditions. Alright? But it will always be asking us about perspectives. Now remember, we know that that means point of view. What do the writers think? It means their attitudes. Okay? So that's what we're comparing. Do they have similar points of view, or do they have different ones? Now we know that the mark scheme is as follows. Level 1 is simple and limited. Level 2 is some attempts. Level 3 is clear and relevant. Level 4 is detailed and perceptive. So we're going to have to be detailed and perceptive, notice things that other people might not notice about the writer's perspectives and how they are similar or different to get those high marks. We're going to have to be clear and relevant about the similarities and differences between the writer's perspectives to get 9 to 12 marks. Okay, so this is worth 16 marks. Now you do always get these bullet points here that help you to focus on what you need to do. Compare the different perspectives is a reminder that we need to compare, and we need to write about points of view. Compare the methods, and we'll look at that in a sec, and then support your response with references to the text. Okay, so it's giving you that reminder of the key things here are quotes, methods, and by methods we mean language techniques, and if you want, you don't have to, structure techniques, and it's reminding us that we've got to compare points of view. Alright, so these are the different things that we'll be tested on, and you can see that here in this checklist. So pause the video if you haven't got all of that down, because the next thing you're going to need to write down is the checklist. It's getting us to compare, so comparing is really going to be key. It's getting us to write about ideas and perspectives, and it means the writer's ideas and perspectives. Okay? Also wants us to write about quotations or references to the text. Now that's definitely going to be quotations if we're analysing language. We might be talking about the beginning, middle and an end. If we're talking about structure, and then we can just refer to at the beginning, at the middle, at the end, where such and such happens. And by methods, it means language, structure. It can also just be writing about the tone or the mood. How is the mood different? Okay? But anything that you want to compare can come under methods. So when you're reading the text, you need the following questions to go through your mind. If you haven't got this bit down, pause the video before you move on. As you read each text, you want to be thinking, well, what does the writer think? What is their attitude? What are their points of view? What is their perspective? Then you need to be thinking, what techniques and methods are they using? Are they writing about language? What are they saying about structure? Now, we won't have analysed these texts for structure, but this question is pulling together all your skills. So when you're writing about structure, when you're looking at fiction text on paper 1, you can apply the same skills here. You've already written about language for question 3. Again, you can use the same ideas here because the examiner will mark your questions separately. But as you're identifying those things, you need to be thinking, well, what do they tell me? How does this show the writer's viewpoint? You need to be thinking about what it is the writer's trying to achieve. What do they want the reader to think or feel? And how does it compare to the other text? Is it similar or is it different? and the more detail you can go into and really identifying the similarities and differences, the better your grade will be. Okay, because we know that the top marks go to those who are detailed and perceptive. So pause the video there if you haven't got all of that down. Finally, we need to write our sentence starters, and as always, these are going to help us get the kind of mid-range marks, but we're going to have to be a lot more complex in our writing if we're going to achieve those top marks. But this might at least give you a bit of a starting point. You're going to start off by writing about either source A or source B, or you might say both sources, and how they're similar. Both writers think and feel, or both writers focus on, or both writers use. Or you might be picking out a difference. Okay, so this is not the only sentence starters that you can use, but this just gives you a guide. So you start off by saying what the writer's viewpoint is, or what technique they're using, and how you know. There's your quotation. Okay, I've missed my quotation marks. And you want to try and embed that quotation. Then you analyse the quotation. So then you're saying, well, what is it? What is the particular word? Or the particular technique, what does it suggest, why is it effective, what has it got connotations of, what does it imply. Okay, so you might not need to use both of these depending on what quotation you've picked. Now we know we need to write about perspective, so we then need to say what we think the writer is trying to do and how it is similar or different in the other text, and that needs to be detailed to get those top marks. Really explain how it's similar or different. And if you want to kind of really go into the subtleties, that's going to give you a sense of pushing into those top marks. Okay, so make sure you've got all of those sentence starters down as well. Once you've done that, your job is going to be to actually answer this question. Compare how the writers convey their viewpoint, different perspectives on the extreme weather conditions. So you're going to need to reread source A and source B, and then you can start writing your answer. Now you've got a bit longer for this question. You've got lots of space on the other side, so you've got a blank side there, got a blank side there, and you've even got more on the other side there. All right. And so if you wanted to start off by doing a quick table of the similarities or differences, you might have time to just quickly write source A, source B, and you might note down, for example, quotations that would use. You might want to note down the methods they've got to pick out any similarities or differences, and you might even want to pick out their perspectives. What do they think? All right. So you could spend 5 minutes doing just a really quick similarities and differences to help you decide what it is that you're going to say, and then start writing your answers. Okay. Okay, I'll leave you there, because then once you've got all these notes down, you can get on with actually answering the question, because that's where you're really applying the skills. All right, good luck with it. Off you go.